Hello and welcome once again to my channel. Today I will be talking about an important subject, a subject that I think we should be discussing more often because of the importance. I'm talking about the topic of parenting. Yes, parenting. And it is a very important topic because it is something that has great impact. It's both important and impactful. All of us, somehow, we are what we are because of the kind of parenting we received. Somebody said that the most important job in the world is being a parent. And unfortunately, most people do not have any proper training for parenthood. All we know and all we learned is what we saw in our own parents, in our own family. So that's why this moment I want to discuss some things that are known about parenting to make it successful and effective. Not only that, the way things are in the world today, the rapid changes in everything means that often we have to unlearn and relearn so many things, including parenting, which means that even that little we learned from our homes, from our parents, it may not suffice because we cannot parent our own children the way we were parented. Things have changed a lot. So there are so many dynamics into parenting today that we need to talk about them. So by way of outline, in this discussion, I'm going to cover, first of all, the meaning of parenting. Then I will talk about the goals. What are the goals of parenting, or what are the objectives or the end point? Then we'll talk about the challenges. But that is where the crux of the matter is, the challenges of parenting today in this 21st century. Then we are going to end with principles of parenting. We'll look at the tips and the guidelines and suggestions on how to make parenting effective. So let's go into the first aspect and we'll talk about the meaning. Well, there are many ways we can define parenting, but they all come to the same thing. Number one, we say that parenting is the process of raising children and providing them with protection and care in order to ensure their healthy development into adulthood. That is what parenting is, a process of raising children so that they will develop into healthy adults. Then another definition says it is the process of raising a child from birth to independent adulthood. That is to say, parenting starts from birth and it does not end until the person becomes independent. When the person is free from your tutelage, then you have finished your parenting. I can even refer to the scripture. The Christian Bible has a definition, what I consider a very apt and descriptive definition of parenting. In Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6, there's a very popular scripture there on parenting. Proverbs 22 verse 6, it says, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So that to me is an apt definition of parenting, and it captures the essential ingredients in parenting. Yes, so from the three definitions, there are some three essential elements that stand out. They must be present in every successful parenting. They must be there. If they are not there, it's not parenting. Number one is that parenting is a process. It's a process. So it's not a hit and run affair. And it's not a matter of pressing button. It's not something you press button and you get the result. No, it's a process. and it starts from birth. Like one of the definitions says, from birth. As soon as the child is born, parenting has begun. And you are not going to finish the business until that child becomes an adult. So parenting goes through all the stages of child's development until adulthood. That is it. So it's a process. Then number 2, parenting is active. Active is not a passive something. It's not just something that passive goes on with time. No, there must be an active involvement of the parents. You will participate in the process. It's a process, and you will participate actively. So it's not just that you have children eating and drinking in your house and growing just like that. No, you are doing something to them. You are doing something with them. You are doing something for them. You are making contributions into their lives, and you are taking them in a particular direction. That is what parenting means. Then the third element in that definition is that parenting is intentional. That is to say, there must be a clear end in sight. There is a destination. There is something you want to achieve. You have clear set objectives, or you have goals. There is something you want to make out of those children. So the process does not go on autopilot. No, there is a clear destination. So these 3 things are the elements that make parenting. Anything short of that is not parenting. So successful parenting has an expected end or outcome. There must be expected end or outcome. So let's now go to the second aspect of the discussion. Let's talk about the goals of parenting. What are those expected ends or outcomes? Or when can we say that successful parenting has taken place? If you are a parent, when can you beat your chest and say, I have done a good job, I have raised my children well? So what are those endpoints or indicators or indices of proper parenting? We'll look at the number 1. The first objective of parenting is to provide a safe, sound, and healthy environment for child's development. That's the first thing. That you create an environment for the child to develop, and that environment should be safe, secure, and healthy, so that the child will develop without damage. You see, if you have interacted with people or you have been involved in counseling, you will discover that many people are damaged. Many people carry wounds in their lives. Many people are broken. Many people you see in the street, they are broken. And most of these damages were caused by their parents. Either their biological parents or adopted parents or foster parents or whoever it was that raised them. In the course of raising them, they were broken and damaged. And they carry wounds with them, or at least scars that will stay with them all through their lives. And it's because the parenting was wrong. The style was wrong. The approach was wrong. They didn't do a good parenting. So proper parenting involves creating an atmosphere that is safe and secure, and the child can grow up in that environment without having wounds or damages. That's the first goal of parenting, to raise up that child without wounding the child, without breaking and damaging the child. Then number 2, successful parenting has taken place when you have enabled the child to acquire coping skills to face life's challenges. That is it. That's what parenting should do, to enable that child, to endow that child with the ability and skills to cope with life. There are many skills the child has to learn, coping skills. For instance, communication skills, how to communicate, how to talk to people, and how to listen. Listening skills and how to speak, manner of approach has to be taught. It's part of parenting. Then conflict resolution, because as long as you live in this world, you're going to have conflicts, but the manner, the way you resolve those conflicts is what makes the difference between one person and the other. So somebody who is parented very well will learn conflict resolution, how to resolve differences with people. When you see people becoming violent and aggressive when they are crossed, it means something was wrong in their parenting. Then problem solving skills, emotional intelligence is one important skill that children must be taught. It's part of parenting. Emotional intelligence, that is how to react when things appear to be going wrong, when things are not going according to plan. How do you react? How do you respond? So somebody that has emotional intelligence will keep his cool, will keep his calm, will not flip up the lid, will not explode. So these are skills. Even financial literacy, how to make money, how to use money, how to save, how to invest, how to spend. These are all skills that have to be taught, and it's part of what parenting is all about. The child must be taught how to handle resources. Then another goal of parenting is to assist the child to realize his or her potentials. You see, every human being has a potential. That is something that was configured inside him, something he has the ability to do, but it is dormant, it is latent. Parenting should be able to bring out that potential, discover it, develop it, and maximize it. So successful parenting involves that ability, that enablement, helping a child to realize his potentials in life and not to suppress or kill the drive that the child has. Many parenting models today, they kill the initiative in the child. When a child is trying to express what is inside him, the parenting will kill it, suffocate it, suppress it. That is what happens in most homes. They suppress what the child has within him. That is not successful parenting at all. Then also, a successful parenting is to empower the child to lead an independent adult life. Independence, to achieve independence. You see, parenting will not last forever. A time will come when the child will be released to be on his own in the physical sense. A time will come when the child will leave the nest and go and chart a course and make a life of his own, and he'll be able to survive on his own. If you have done a good parenting, the child will be able to survive. So physical independence is there, emotional. Because some people may be living independent, but they are still tied to their parents. They are still connected somehow. Sometimes you hear about an adult being tied to the mother's apron strings. So it means that parenting was not completed. Even though the child is on his own, even married, yet that emotional independence have not been achieved. So successful parenting should enable the child to achieve independence physically, emotionally, intellectually, and even financially. The child should be independent. A time will come when the child no longer depends on the parents. He can pay his own bills. He can rent his own house. He can feed himself, clothe himself, and take care of other exigencies. That is successful parenting. Then finally, parenting also involves when a child is equipped with the resources to uphold the family values and tradition. Yes, parents should be able to pass something to the child. And one of the things they need to pass to the child is their values, their convictions, their beliefs, their ethics, their tradition, the custom, the culture of the family, or the culture of their people. A parent should be able to pass it on. That's what we call passing the baton. You pass the baton so that the tradition is sustained and maintained. If a parent is not able to do that, even if you succeed in the other aspects, but you are not able to pass over or pass on what you believe, what you stand for, pass it on to your child, then you have not done a good job of parenting. So these are some of the objectives of successful parenting. If you're able to achieve all of them, you have done a good job. Now let's talk about the challenges. What are the issues, the problems? Now I have to admit that raising up children have always been difficult. It's never an easy thing to raise up a child. Whether it is one child, or you have 5, or you have 10, it's never an easy business. And it becomes more difficult and more challenging in our 21st century. Things have changed a lot, and things are still changing. The dynamics are changing. So parenting has become more complicated today in this digital age. And I will discuss some of the reasons or challenges that we are facing today. The first challenge of parenting is that the child you are trying to raise is a free moral agent. That's it. The child is a free moral agent. That is to say, he's an individual. He has a mind of his own. He has his own will. And he can make his own choices. And sometimes, the choices he makes may not agree with the one you have made. Sometimes his own will is different from your will. And he may not be ready to follow your will. That is the truth. Because he's free moral agent. And there's nothing you can do about it. I will give you an example from the Bible. We see God as a father. So God is like a parent to his creatures, or at least to Israel. God identified himself as the father of Israel, and Israel are his children. But do you know that God had problem with those children, trying to raise them? He has a way he wanted them to go. There is a way he wanted to bring them up. But they rebelled. They say, we don't want it. I will give you an example. In the book of Isaiah, you will see a classical case of a parent complaining about the way his children are turning up. In Isaiah chapter 1, verse 2, it says, "Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me." You see, that's a father complaining. He said, I'm trying to raise my children, but at a point they rebelled. Verse 3, "The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's scrip. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider." You see it? The people, not just an isolated case of one prodigal child or one stubborn child. It's like the whole people, the whole children. They say, we don't want the way you are leading us. We will not follow it. Why did it happen? Because of their free will. They are able to do that. They have the liberty to do that. God has given human beings free will. So your children may rebel against your efforts to raise them in a particular way. If you throughout the book of the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, you see the same scenario. In fact, Jeremiah painted a more vivid picture of that rebellion. Let's see that in Jeremiah chapter 6. You see a more graphic description of such rejection of training. In Jeremiah chapter 6, I read verse 16. "Thus says the Lord," that's the father talking to his children, "this is what I want you to do. Stand ye in the ways, and seek and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and you shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein." So you see it? The father said, this is the good way. This is the way I want you to follow. It's the right way. And when you follow it, it will be good for you. You will find rest. And the children say, we will not follow it. We don't want it. They have their own preferences. So it's not only in the Bible days, it's not only the ancient Israel, it is still the same today. The best of fathers have sometimes come to grapple with this, that after all the effort you have made to raise your children the way you want them to go, they will rebel against it. They will reject it. They will refuse it. And they will make their own choices, different from your own choice. So that is number one challenge of parenting. You have people who have their own mind, who have their own will, and they are going to exercise their willpower. Then, number two, in our modern days, one of the challenges of raising children today is work-life balance. Work-life balance. Today we have families where both parents are working. The father is working, the mother is working. You know, in the olden days, most mothers are sit-at-home mothers, stay at home. The father goes to work and the mother prepares the children, send them off to school. And when the children come back from school, they meet the mother at home and the parenting continues. But it's no longer the case today. Few families have that advantage. No, very few families where you can have a mother that's at home. Because today, even sometimes the mother will leave home before the children and she's not coming back until late in the night. So who does the training? We have left training in the hands of uncles and aunties in schools, in the hands of nannies and house helps, in the hands of other people who are not stakeholders. In fact, even in the hand of cartoon networks. Yes, that's what happened in some families. It's the cartoon, the TV, and children program that are the parents. I was guilty of such a thing myself. You just lock the children in the house and put on cartoon and leave them with the TV. So these are some of the challenges we have today, that parents do not have the time. Parenting takes time, but unfortunately the time is not there to do proper job. So it's one of the challenges. Then of course also the effect of globalization, digitization, and the media, especially social media. It's also imposing a lot of challenges in training today. You know, before the advent of all these things, parents can decide what they expose their children to. I know of families where they don't allow the children to go out. They regulate who the child has contact with. Most of the time the children are at home, locked up in the house. And the parents determine what they hear, what they are taught, what they are exposed to. There are even some families where televisions are not allowed. Yes, I know of families like that where they don't allow television so that the children will not be influenced adversely. But it's no longer possible in the modern world today with the advent of digitization, mobile devices, and social media. As long as people have their smartphones, their tablets, and the internet and social media, you can no longer control what they are exposed to. You cannot. So today children are hearing many voices. It's not only the voice of the parents that they hear other voices. So whatever you are teaching them, they are receiving other teachings unknown to you. You may lock up your child in a room from morning till night so that he will not have contact with the outside world, but he's having contact with the virtual world. He's having relationships that you don't know about. He's interacting with people you don't know about. He's learning things that you don't know about. And incidentally, our children are more adept, more advanced, more sophisticated in using those mobile devices. In fact, the so-called Gen Z and millennials, they are digital children. They are natives in digital age, so they know technology more than their parents. So you can't even catch them. You don't know where they are hiding. They know all the hiding places in the social media, and they are meeting with people you can't imagine. They are learning things you can't imagine. So that has become a challenge. So what is happening any part of the world, they have access to those things. So you may be telling them one thing, but they are learning something else, and it's beyond your own control. Then number 4 is the issue of liberalism and permissiveness and moral decadence. There is no doubt about that the moral standard is going down. It's going down very rapidly. Things are changing fast. Things that used to be called taboo are no longer taboo. Things that used to be abomination are now legalized. Some things that we used to call sacred are now desecrated. So it is having impact in parenting. So it's difficult to uphold what you consider a correct standard in today's world, especially for those of us who are Christian parents. We want to raise our children according to Bible principles. It's becoming more difficult in today's world because of the next problem, which is post-modernism and post-Christian era. We are fast approaching a post-Christian era when Christian thinking Christian ideology, Christian mindset is no longer the popular mindset. You know what we know as civilization and modernization and westernization are actually Christian ideology, Christian principles that influenced that mindset. But it is waning, it is fast eroding. Before, you can say this is right because the Bible says so. But in many societies now, you can no longer say the Bible said and use it as a standard. It doesn't hold water anymore. People don't really care about what the Bible says. So there are other shades of opinion. Other standards are being used. So if you are trying to raise your child using Christian standard, you as a parent, you will have problem. And that child himself will have problem too. Because upholding those standards in today's society is a bit difficult. So these are some of the challenges of parenting today. Now that brings me to the next point, which is the principles. As daunting as the challenges are, parenting can still work. Yes, we can still make parenting to work in spite of challenges. There are a few tips and tricks that I'm going to share with you, which have helped people in the past and which will still help people today. Yes, despite all the challenges we discuss, if we follow these principles the way I'm going to enunciate them, there's every likelihood that we're going to get it right. So what are the principles of parenting? Number one is to set the rules. You have to set the rules. That is to say, you have to determine the end point and set the ground rules. Even before the children start arriving, you have to determine the kind of parenting you are going to give them. And when they arrive, make it clear to everybody, this is the way things are going to be. And one of the rules you have to set and abide by is the fact that you are the parent and they are the children, and the power will flow from top to bottom. You call the shots, you decide the direction to go, and it's not the children that will call the shots, because that is one of the problems we are having today. We are having a model of training where the children are kings. Children are kings, and children call the shots, and children decide the way things are going to be done. There's something wrong with that, because children are children. They don't have experience. They don't have knowledge. So there's no way they can make the rules and determine the way things will go. The parents must be parents. So that is rule number one. You are the parent, they are the children. Then rule number two is you have to start early. It's very important. As soon as the child is born, you start. In fact, even before the child is born, you have to start. And you must endeavor to break the will of that child. You know, I told you that one of the challenges of raising children is that willpower. That willpower, that self-will. You must find a way to break that will and do it as early as possible. In fact, as early as the year 2 and 3. You know, there's that impossible 2. We call it impossible 2. That is when the child begins to exert his authority, begins to push the boundaries, begins to test the resolve of the parents. That's when they throw tantrums everywhere and embarrass you in the public. They are trying to exert their self-will. You have to break it. You have to break it. That you have to tell them, not your will, but mine will be done. You have to do it. Whichever way, whatever it takes to do that. Because if you miss it at that point, it may be difficult. Sometimes I see parents trying to break the will of an adolescent. Recently, I had a friend of mine who called me in the middle of the night to seek medical advice. What happened? He used physical effort to break the will of his daughter, who is almost an adult, almost in her 20s, trying to use force, brute force, to make her do his will. And in the process, he wounded the child. If it is at that age you try to break the child, it's too late, I'm afraid. You do it when they are still tender. I say between 2 and 3, you should do it. You should do it. You should stand your ground. and don't let them push you into submission, beat you into submission. Now, when I say break the will of the child, I don't mean break the child. It's not the child you will break. It's his will or her will. So don't damage the psyche of the child. Don't inflict injury, neither on the body nor on the mind. What we are trying to do is to not allow the child to have his or her way. That's what I'm saying. Then number 3, you have to structure your training. You have to tailor the training according to the age of the child, according to the temperament of the child, and according to the peculiarity of the child. Those of you that have many children, you will soon realize that all the children are not the same. They are different. They have different temperaments, different configurations. And so you will not use a uniform model for all of them. There will be some variations. You need to understand your child. In education, they talk about different types of learners. There's first the visual learner, the one that will learn by seeing. If you don't make it graphic, he will not learn it. Then there's the auditory learner, the one that learns by hearing. Once you say it, once you give the instruction, the child will catch it. Then there's the tactile learner, the one that learns by doing. He has to use his hand. If you do not bring that aspect of teaching, the child may not pick it. So your children will fall into some of these categories, and you need to know them and train them accordingly. So you have to structure your training. There should be a syllabus. There should be a scheme. Yes. And you should follow it through. And the scheme should keep on changing as the child is growing. And as they learn one stage, you change style. You move to the next stage. So that is this. It should be a structured training. You know, I said that parenting is intentional. So it's something, you know where you are going, and you'll be going there. When you achieve one aspect, you tick that one, good, this achieved. You move on to the next skill. When you achieve that one, you tick it, good. And then you keep on reinforcing to make sure they don't go back to what they have already learned. I mean, go back on what they have already learned. They don't relapse. If they have achieved a milestone, you keep on enforcing it. Then number 4 is that you have to share frequently. You have to share with your children. There are things you have to share with them. There should be exchange of information, exchange of ideas. For us who are Christians, you must share the gospel with your children. The children must hear the gospel preached to them from their parents. You must share your faith, share your conviction. You must tell them something, explain the tenets of the gospel to them. Then you also share your testimonies, share your life stories, your experiences. Tell them how life has treated you and how you have handled the challenges of life. Let them know the story of your life. Then you share memories also with them. That is to say, you give them memories, things to remember. Do things with them. Take them places. Expose them to things that they will never forget, things that will live long in their memories. Share memories with them. Then number 5, you have to strike a balance. Strike a balance. There are balances you have to strike. For instance, the balance of work and home. You have to strike that balance. In as much as you continue to work, be a career mother, but you will not forget your home. So you have to strike a balance. Your work should not rob your children of their parents. It's happening today. The work, the career has robbed the children of their parents' time and attention. No, you have to strike that balance. Make time for the children. Also, you have to strike a balance between the training method. There is the authoritarian type of parenting where the parents are strong, strict and rigid and authoritarian. You know, they enforce their will with any way they can do it. They batter the children into submission. Then there is the permissive, where the parents are soft, liberal, uninvolved. I don't care. They allow children unfettered liberty and freedom. Children call the shots. Children dictate the pace, and eventually the parents fear their children. Children become the kings. You have to strike a balance between that. There's the acceptable type of parenting called authoritative, You are authoritative. It's a democracy, but it's authoritative democracy. Yeah, even though you give children opportunity to air their view, you listen to them, you hear their own perspective, but you still exert some influence. So you have to strike a balance between discipline and love. Yes, you love your children, but you discipline. You discipline when it is necessary. It's very important. Now, discipline does not mean punishment. There's a difference between discipline and punishment. You discipline. You don't punish. Yes. So these are the balances: carrot and stick. You have to combine. You use carrot when necessary, and you use stick when necessary. That is balance you have to strike. Then number 6 is that you have to serve as a role model. You serve as a role model. You see, your job with your children is to mentor and to model. Whatever it is you are telling them, they need to see it. You know, you are already an adult, and we say that successful parenting is to bring the children to independent adulthood. So you are taking them somewhere, and when you get there, you say, I have succeeded. So you got there? That's why somebody say, before you parent yourself. Whatever it is you want to inculcate in your children, you should be a model of it. If you're talking of emotional intelligence, they should see it. If you're talking about tolerance, patience, forgiveness, they should see it. If you're talking about industry, you're talking about hard work, they should see it. Now, let me tell you, the greatest learning children learn about parenting is from their parents. Most people will raise their own children the way they were raised. It's what they observe at home that they think is the right way to do it. So if they grow up in a house of bullying and abuse, that's what they will do. If they grow in a house of gossiping and backbiting and quarreling, they will reflect it in their own homes. So be a model of what you want them to be. Live by example. Then number 7, you need to shun negativity. Whatever negativity means, avoid it. Any words, use of words, negative words, abusive words, demeaning, demoralizing, discouraging words, avoid it. When I say that many people are damaged, some of those damages were caused by words, the kind of words parents use on their children. Break their spirit, break their hearts, break their morals, break their resolve, weaken their hands. So you have to avoid negative attitude, negative sentiment, negative utterances. That's what we call positive parenting. You should embrace positive parenting. And positive parenting emphasizes instruction, guidance, mentoring, as opposed to punishment, blame, and fault finding. So don't make too much of the faults of your children, but instead guide them and direct them and help them and encouragement. That's what positive parenting means. Then number 8, show them love. Show them love. And that love should be unconditional. So no matter what, you love them. There's no reason why children should be deprived of their quota of love. Whatever they do, however they are turning out, even when they begin to rebel against you, you love them. Yes, when it appears as if your efforts are not yielding result, you love them. When it appears as if they are going contrary to the way you are trying to raise them, you love them. And that love should be unconditional. You should express it, you should say it, and you should show it. How do you show it? You think about their interest, and you do things for their interest. You do things for them, and deliberately you will try to make them happy. You know what they want, what they desire, give it to them. That is love, and it is very important. In fact, there are 2 things that will ensure good outcome. All the researches have proved that these 2 things will ensure good outcome. Number 1, love. Number 2, discipline. If you apply these 2 appropriately, almost 100% assurance, those children will turn out right. So show them love. Then number 9, stand by them. Stand by your children. They are going to meet with crisis in life. They are going to meet with discouragement, with failures, with frustrations. Stand by them. Stand by them. Don't give up on them. Don't write them off. Don't reject them. No matter what, stand by your children. Let them know that you got their back. Let them know that you got their back. You are ever behind them and you will never give up on them. It's very, very important. Then finally, I will say, seek God's assistance. Seek God's assistance. Parenting is difficult. It's the most difficult job on earth. You need assistance. Because sometimes after all your best effort, it appears as if you're not getting it right. You need God. So you pray for your children and you pray with your children. You pray for them, you pray with them. And you keep on praying at every stage of their development. You keep on praying. Sometimes you may not even do a lot of talking. When you see the way they are going, instead of talking and nagging, go on your knees and pray for them. Many parents have been able to pray their children back from the far country. Many parents, they recover their children from the mouth of hell. So prayer is important in parenting, and I must recommend it to us. So in conclusion, I want to say that parenting is truly challenging, but it is a hurdle that can be crossed, and the outcome is indeed rewarding. When you do a good job of parenting, the outcome is rewarding. When your children turn out right, the outcome is rewarding. One of the best gifts you can bequeath to your children is good upbringing. They will never forget you. All the effort you are making will not be in vain. They will remember. You know, sometimes we have Mother's Day. Some days have been designated Mother's Day. A particular Sunday in the year is Mother's Sunday, when people remember their mothers and the people that brought them up. Sometimes you see somebody posting on social media, maybe the picture of the mother, and he will say, bravo, or shout out to the best mother on earth. That is a testimony. When your child say you are the best mother on earth, it means that mother did a good job. She did a good job. So, and it should be the desire of every mother that your children will remember you with fondness, with appreciation. Even though during the training there may be some fights, some struggles, some contention, and you may think that the children will end up hating you, but at the end of the day, they will appreciate the effort you have made, and their testimony will be the testimony of that virtuous woman in the Bible, in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 28. Look at the testimony about this woman and her upbringing. It says, her children arise up and call her blessed. Her husband also, and he praised her. So when your children will rise up and bless you, that means you have done a good job. And I believe if we follow all the steps we have enumerated and avoid the things we are supposed to avoid, we are going to get a good result. And our children will rise up and they will bless us. And God himself will also bless us. Thank you for listening to me. I'm going to see you in another episode. Bye-bye.